I'm Hassan Vali, part of the Thought Leader Network. I have the pleasure today to speak with Jason Lara, and as the other interviews that we've had so far, the whole purpose today is just really get into the concept of thought leadership. Both Jason and I are heavily involved in manufacturing, and we are going to have that conversation in the context of manufacturing. So um, great to be here, and welcome, Jason. Thanks for spending time here with us today.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah. So without any further ado, Jason has a very extensive background in manufacturing, heavily involved in the operation. So I think that your wisdom and your insights about leadership in this field is invaluable for the audience. So I truly appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the next 15, 20 minutes
Awesome.
this interview. So the very first thing I want to start is just tell us a little bit about yourself and your story and where you start, where you're at now. So just a little bit of a.
Sure. I started manufacturing about 25 years ago. I started out as a consultant in a boutique consulting firm. Through that, I started to work with private equity guys. And from private equity, I got into, I would tell you, like VP level management of some of their holdings. And as you know, in private equity, they don't always buy the shiny one out there. And my job generally was and has been to turn that facility or that company around from an operations standpoint. I've had hold chief operating officer type things, more C-level, not directly going other things, but mostly in manufacturing. That's where my fit is over these years.
That's great. No, appreciate it.
And just another thing, it's I worked at $30 million companies. I've worked at billion-dollar companies, right? It just depends on what the job out there was
and what the PE is bringing in. Yeah.
Correct.
And nowadays it's a lot of you see a lot of that motion now, right? Looks like the industry is shifting. You constantly seeing all these M&As happening, all these acquisitions right and left. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd say guys our age, there were 30 or 40 private equity firms. Now there are 3,000, right?
Yeah.
And that's good. That the American and the economy is going to that investor. But the days, I think, of, I would say, grown capital, in-house capital, where you're grooming leaders over years, those days are over.
Yeah. So with your extensive background in manufacturing, and probably the most part of manufacturing is turning around on a distressed business, and you've been doing it for day in, day out. So in that context, what kind of legacy, like a leadership legacy, are you putting behind? So going to business, implementing them, moving on to the next. What type of legacy you're putting behind you? Leaving behind you?
I would say that I base everything off of servant leadership, and I don't know if that's the Marine Corps, my alma mater, the Citadel. I don't know what that is. Maybe my Serbian Italian parents. I just think that I've learned over the years that is better to put the frontline workers and the frontline managers in positions to win. And let me kind of tell you a speech that I give. I talk about this all the time, and particularly when I go into a distressed place, right?
Yeah.
Those people, they're down, right? They know I'm the third or fourth guy in there, right? And I try to give them some confidence. What I say to them is this: the customer is king. That's who we serve. All of us, that's who we serve, king or queen. You guys are the prince and princesses of the company. You're the customer facing people. You know the customer better than any of us, right? So what I need from you is, how do we serve that customer better?
Mm-hmm.
And if you tell me in a reasonable manner, and I'll help you with that, how we can do that, we will go forward and help us have a better relationship with the customer, right? And you know, that is typically how I start out, to get everybody on that same page. And then after that, I we could call it a Kaizen. I call it a operational improvement team. I
Uh-huh.
pick a high volume work center or high volume workflow, put an hourly target on it,
Uh-huh.
take 2 years worth of data if they have it, or as much data as we have, put 5 or 10% on that, and then track that. Have that cross-functional team
Yeah.
work on those types of things, okay? And assign action items. I accomplish two things with that. One is I get them involved,
Uh-huh.
right? I get the
Yeah.
people involved, right?
Engagement.
Their
Yeah,
their
absolutely.
their ideas mean something, and they can see what is a good idea, what is a bad idea. All good ideas to start out with, but you know,
Yeah.
my philosophy is that we fail fast, right? That's the one thing. The
I
second
love
thing
it.
is
Feel fast.
I can gauge my front line and my middle management into, can they handle complex problems in a high velocity area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them can, some of them can't. That doesn't mean they don't get a seat on the bus. That just means they're not on the right seat.
That's
So
very strong.
that's kind of how I have always uh, tried to manage that. And I'd say, you know, it's not 100% of the time, Pessim, but it is, it is,
It's a working model, I would say.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
proven over and over, right?
yeah,
And and that's you said a couple things that I want just to echo on it for the audience. One of them is you use the analogy of Jim Collins' Good to Great book when you're talking about sitting in a bus. Are you in the right seat? Um,
right.
so that's very strong. And the other thing that you said, you've been talking about who you're serving. So um, that's very strong. That as a leader, we just don't serve the customer, even though the customer is a big part of it, but also we have a lot of responsibilities to the people who are we're working with day in, day out within the four walls of the operations, right? So I always like the idea of shifting from transactional leader to transformational leader to servant leader, depending on what situation you are dealing with.
Right.
And that's a strong, that's really strong.
Yeah.
And so you've been in the industry for a long time. You've been working with different type of operations. What kind of trend do you see in the leadership? I mean, you talked about some of them, right? The servant leader or bringing people, engage them in what the improvement that needs to be done.
Yeah.
But what do you think is missing? Uh, not just talking about your practice, but generally speaking, when you talk with the other leaders, when you see other leaders, what do you think is missing, or um, what kind of trend do you see it's missing?
I would say this. I'd say 15 or 20 years ago, you put together a capital plan,
Hmm.
and that's for the next 3 to 5. Now we're putting together capital plans for the next 3 to 6 months.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure the health of the organization is benefited by that. I understand the desire for quick results. I get that, right? I think that can be accomplished in other ways. I think we
Hmm.
have a tendency that now to make mistakes, and some of those mistakes, depending on the situation in the cash flow of the company, the
Hmm.
capital position of the company, those are deadly mistakes. Um,
Mm.
Now, I'm not coming in here to tell you in the audience like, hey, I have a golden ticket. I can
Yeah.
fix all this. What I'm telling you is that what I've seen, particularly in the last 5 or 6 years, is we're going to get in there, and we're going to see absolute results in 90 days or 120 days, and you may not see that, right?
Yeah.
And especially if you uh, say consolidate facilities.
Hmm.
You know, uh, where I used to have a staff, and again, I'm not saying that it's more people, but it's the better the checklist, right?
Yeah.
that we've planned for success, right? Um, I just don't think that those are as thought out. And I
Uh-huh.
think that we feel like, oh, we'll catch that on the backside. And some of those things that we may miss,
Mm.
and this is just from prior experience, those things, they're big ticket items that it really causes consequences down the road.
That's, yeah, no, that's
But
great.
I think that's it. It's the velocity of of the we need results now.
Now, yeah.
Um, and hey, hey, we're going to go to a different vendor. Well, that different vendor, the cost may be better, but that vendor, we don't look at the optimum and say, hey, that vendor, the cost is better, but I'm getting that from Bolivia now. Well, it's got to be on a boat for
Best
3 weeks.
control. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
And then what are my quality controls down there, right? I
yeah.
mean, do I send somebody down there to do that? That costs things. So what did I? Anyway, I think you get where I'm getting at here.
Yes,
Is
absolutely.
a lot of
Absolutely.
stones, we don't turn them over. Where I'd
Mhm.
say 15 years ago, that stuff was turned over, and a lot of that's knowledge based, right? I mean, you know, weren't you and I aren't getting any younger.
It's, we work in our organization, we work with manufacturing factories as a lean organization and technology organization. So it's interesting that you will see less and less organizations that are looking for people to come in and make a major transformation that may take 2 years, 3 years, but it's going to be the foundational piece of the business that's going to help the
Yep.
business to grow in the next 50 years, right? And you see that in the world of PEs coming in, turning the business 3 to 5 years, put it back in the market, the next level PE come in, buy and get doing that. So you see that all the time horizon for improvements, as you said, is getting smaller and smaller and
Smaller and
smaller.
smaller.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's very strong. And uh, it's interesting. I mean, you and I had another conversation earlier
Yes,
this
sir.
this week, and a lot of similarities in how we are looking at things, and it's really fun to have this conversation. Very much like mine, folks like us. And so the last question I have for you, I mean, the word of wisdom. So, what would you share or leave with the audience as we are getting close to this interview? What would you leave with them?
I would say this that detail, data driven people, there's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with you, right? That makes the world go around. That data surge that we had in the last 20 years, I think it's fantastic, right?
Mhm.
Um, there are things. I don't think you should overburden yourself with data,
Mhm.
the too much data, but you have to understand. And I think the real winners in what we do, they can really quickly identify the KPI or the metric or the data point that matters, right?
Yeah.
And I have yet to see an MBA student or a guy out of a big time school like Michigan
Um,
who's 20 something years old be able to put their finger on that, and that takes
this
time
is the problem.
to get to do that, right?
Yeah.
And but I would tell you that attention to detail, understanding what you're looking at, okay,
Hmm.
and that collaboration with your teammates to say, hey, you know, this is this is this is something we need to pay attention to. I think that's the important thing, and
That's
those are the
great.
types of things that I would like to leave. I always say this to my people. Like, look, in 2 years, whatever company I'm working for, I'd love for you guys to be here. But if you're not, what I want to do is you take something from here from me to say like Jay Loda taught me that, right? I learned that. So, that's part of that
Yeah.
servant leadership. That's part of, we talked about legacy from the get go. That's the type of legacy types of things that I like.
That is very powerful. That's very powerful. Hey, Jason, I really appreciate you spending almost 15 minutes with me and being patient to answer all the questions that I ask and in a really good, detailed manner. Uh, everything that you said. I personally, as a manufacturing fellow, I live those things day in day out. So I that's a really good uh, voice of manufacturing, leadership in manufacturing that you're sharing with our audience. So I'm going to stop the recording here. I want to thank our audience for spending time with us, and let us know if you want to gather more information. We'll love to share even more. So,
Great.
with that said, I'm gonna stop